How's it going, everybody? It's your favorite apostates. My name is McKay.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are back. And before we get started, I got two things so you can count them off. I'm wearing a Fundy Fridays t-shirt. I would have worn them in their interview that they did with us this past Friday. If you want to go check out some exclusive fun time content with Fundy Fridays, you can go over to their channel. I'll probably link it right here. And if you want to support them, if you want to support a good cause, you can get this Fundy Fridays Dunking Darling pink version. I'm reading off the screen. You can get this Dunking Darling Fundy Fridays shirt. On the back it says 7 creams, 5 sugars, 23 states will ban abortion if Roe versus Wade is overturned. Abortion is healthcare. Know your rights. And Jen will be matching the profits from each shirt sold as long as they can financially do so. And they will be donating it to, she listed a bunch of places they'll be donating to in a video, but check it out. It's awesome. Second piece of business. If you've been following along lately, you know we've been talking about doing a live stream watch party of Mormon 80s Cringe Fest, Saturday's Warrior, with our patrons. We finally have gotten a date nailed down. The patrons voted and have spoken, and the most amount of people will be able to attend on June 25th at 8 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. If you would like to join in on this watch party, you can subscribe to any of the Patreon tiers. You can find a link in the description. It'll be open to any of our patrons, so if that's something that you would like to participate in, you can do that, and you can get more information on Patreon.
Trust me, you're going to want to participate because this is the best Mormon cringe movie of all time. You will not be able to hold in your body the cringe that you are about to witness. It will be like emanating from your pores. So get ready.
I'm already dreading it to an extent. So now that we have that out of the way, we wanted to talk about today. Drum roll, please.
Ruby again. We shit on Ruby all the time on this channel, so this
yeah. So this one kind of rings true. We didn't want to really talk about her anymore because 8 Passengers has not uploaded a single thing. Channel has gone totally inactive since the start of this year, which in my book, that's a win. So snaps for that. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that Ruby Frankie has disappeared from the internet, because she just cannot stay away.
No, she can't. She cannot. So today we are going to talk about the newest fiasco that she has created, because typically these things that she does that draw people's attention are scenarios that she has constructed herself. These aren't even things that are like happening to her and she's just like caught in the middle of it. This is Ruby, like, instead of just like stirring the pot, she's like burning the pot and dumping it on the floor, because stirring the pot just wouldn't be enough. Like, there has to be some exacerbated response to whatever the hell she's doing, because she lives for attention. Since 8 Passengers isn't her focus anymore, she has started doing this pseudoscience, pseudo-therapist, capital T for truth type cult group thing. That's like the best way that I can describe it. It is very bizarre. It is her and either somebody that she knew previously or connected with her, a friend or a church member. As far as I know, they're both church members. But they've created this whole little, like, I don't even know what to call it. This, like, I don't even know what, like, I'm picturing a cauldron in my head. I'm thinking, like, witch's brew. That's what's, like, that's what's coming to my brain. But
brewing up some bullshit.
And here's the thing. There's a lot to this little group. The person that she's partnered with, her name is Jody, and the two of them have created like this little Moms for Truth and living by the principles of the gospel in like an extremist kind of sense, in my opinion.
Of the Mormon gospel.
Of the Mormon gospel.
That is kind of like the key thing, is people were not satisfied with how much of a cult the Mormon church was, that they had to add like another layer on top of it.
Exactly. So that's what they've created, is this weird thing. And Jody, this other person, is kind of the one in control and pushing things along. But she's roped Ruby in, and Ruby is like eye deep in this additional cult bullshit. So before we even say anything, I want to start off by saying that a lot of times when we have like these cult and MLM type conversations, a lot of people are like, well, cults like prey on vulnerable people. And I hear that, but I also think that's kind of not the full picture and in some ways disrespectful, because it kind of comes off to people like us who did get sucked into a cult. It's kind of offensive because we're like, well, that's just kind of...
Well, rude. In a way, it still does ring true because
everybody has their
children
vulnerabilities.
Are vulnerable. We were born into it, so
they're all aspects of people that are vulnerable. We all have our blind spots. We all have our spaces, right? And so Mormonism appeals to different people for different reasons. Like it rings true for me for different reasons than it rings true for you, and it's designed to be that way. So this isn't to say that Ruby's just like this poor little vulnerable person stuck in a corner who's just getting sucked into every possible thing. Because I don't think that's what's happening at all here, especially with Ruby. I don't take the victim mentality when it comes to Ruby because I feel like she's actively involving herself in these things. But I will hold, I think, the concept of her potentially being more easily sucked into this kind of framework or structure still holds water, because this is just an extension of Mormonism, a more extreme aspect of Mormonism. And so if you're already comfortable with the Mormon piece and you're like Ruby and you're like insanely intense and strict and extreme in many Mormon things, and this was like an easy little segue into something else. And it still gives you, she's BFFs with the head of whatever you want to call this organization, group, whatever. And so now she's gotten attention back on herself, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is this ruse that she's created to bring attention to this thing.
Before we get into it, I just want to kind of set the scene. If you haven't heard us talk about 8 Passengers and Ruby Frankie, then like we come at things from a framework of we were formerly Mormon and just kind of looking at influencers and people who build their brand with Mormonism as a stepping stone, and then kind of like make Mormonism palatable for the masses, and which is really disingenuous in a lot of aspects. We don't dislike Ruby because she is a Mormon. Let's make that clear. We dislike Ruby and she's a Mormon. There's a lot of things that she takes and she runs with within Mormonism. What Ruby Frankie has shown through the 8 Passengers YouTube channel is given us sufficient evidence to say that she's not a great person. She is really self-centered. She will prioritize views over her family and use her children as clickbait and all that kind of bullshit. So we don't like Ruby, and she peddles terrible things about Mormonism.
And Ruby is not well liked across the internet for abuse allegations and things of that nature. And so she's just all around not a good person. And we don't have time to go into today why she's not. That would be...
You can check out our video here about it.
Yeah, we've talked about her a few times.
Yep.
So refresh yourself if you need. But today we're talking about this fiasco that she's created. So allow me to set the scene. The videos that we're going to play for you today are all taken from the Instagram page that this little group that she's a part of runs. It's called... The group thing in question that we're talking about today here is called... The name of it is called Connections Coaching. And the head of this group is Jody Hildebrandt. And she is as far as I know, a former therapist. I don't know if she currently has her license.
Counselor.
She was on probation at some point. I think she did get her license back. But she does not advertise herself, at least on this page, as a therapist. She has an MS, Master's of Science, I assume. She did get a master's degree to be a counselor, typically. And life educator. I could be wrong on that. I'm not doing a deep dive on Jody for this purpose, so don't come for me. So she has created this Instagram page. It has 1,300 followers, and Ruby's face is all over it.
So she apparently ran away from YouTube because she couldn't handle the heat anymore and decided to kind of take herself down a peg so she could do this full time.
That's essentially what's happening. So they do Zoom calls and coaching, and they've created their own Facebook group. It's like Moms for Truth or something with Jody and Ruby, and it's a really toxic group. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. And so
anybody who uses that kind of phraseology it's always a red
with
flag.
a capital T.
Always a red flag.
So the whole point of the page, they do like Zoom sessions for parenting techniques, marriage stuff. Like it's all like life coaching based things. Okay. So Jody seems to be at the head, but Ruby is like center stage at this point. And Jody has god awful takes, homophobic takes, like terrible mental health takes.
If she were coming at this from an angle of, oh, I'm a counselor, she would be a hack.
I would say stay far away.
Yeah.
So now they've just morphed this into something else, and they think that they're doing something productive here. So there are very much culty vibes emanating from this connections thing that's happening here. And so that's probably something that we could get more in depth in another video, because we don't have time to really go through the aspects of what cults really look like and kind of contrast the two. But what you're going to see today in these videos is that Ruby has really ventured very hard and fast into the language that's used inside this connections coaching lifestyle or group or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like, she is very, very deep into it, and it's lingo and verbiage with it, like letters that are capitalized. All the letters are capitalized, or the beginning of the letter of truth is always capitalized. Principles, I've seen every time they've typed it, is like all caps.
Principles.
So there's like this weird kind of language thing happening. So you will hear her talk about truth and principles constantly. But the other thing that I want to remind people of is in the 8-passenger kind of universe, there are many, many family members that are vloggers, including, parents, siblings. Like there's a multiverse of 8-passenger people, family on YouTube. But there has long been a suspected rift between Ruby, the Frankies, and the rest of them, because they don't see each other anymore. Like, there's no collaborations amongst vlogs anymore. Like, they're not going to each other's houses for holidays. They're not attending, like, Ruby family when her daughter got baptized.
Yeah,
they weren't there for that.
Yeah, there was no mention of any of them in that video. And a lot of people came to us and they're like, why would that be? I was like, I don't know. They're insufferable. Like,
fair. But they all do the same thing. They're all vloggers, and they're probably, some of them aren't as necessarily terrible as Ruby, but this could very well be the reason why there is not communication between the rest of them anymore, because Ruby is so far deep into this shit. She was insufferable before, but when you hear her talk now, it's like, oh my God. And so there's lots of speculation about cult things in this group. One of the things that I read from the 8-passenger snark was some references to the fact that Jody is in so deep with this thing that if other people, like, you bring the principles of this group to your friends and family, and if they reject those principles, then essentially you reject them, and they can't be part of your lives anymore. There's some references to distortion. It's giving me Scientology vibes. Like, overall,
it's giving Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole shunning thing from commenters that I've gotten sounds like the real deal.
Yeah. So there's weirdness going on here, and that can be a video we dissect for another day. But let's jump in to this nonsense.
Okay, so here's what's going on. Julie is in a PE class over at the middle school, and for PE, this teacher is doing dance. The teacher is going to have all of the students in her class, which includes Julie, do a TikTok dance for the school to, like, interrupt their lunch, like a surprise dance to everybody.
It's a flash mob, Ruby.
And I said, a TikTok dance? What are the dance moves? And she's like, well, in the real dance, they're kind of naughty, but she said just to do something different there. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, some of the girls still twerk. I said, okay. What song? So you hear me asking questions. I'm getting curious with her. I said,
Very
what
cute,
songs
yes.
are in this? And she told me one of the songs. And I looked it up to look up the lyrics. It is straight up hardcore porn. straight up. And I was reading the lyrics quietly to myself as I was scrolling.
Oh my
I just
God.
typed in the name of the song and I said lyrics of.
Is that how you do it?
And Julie said, well, the teacher said that because...
Do lyrics of what?
I like how she had to explain that. I just typed into Google song lyrics of, like we're not all familiar with how to do that.
You don't even need lyrics of. You can just say
put the
lyrics.
song.
Yeah. Usually Google will just pull up the lyrics in a little text box.
For all you at home, Ruby's helping you out.
Here you guys go. Yeah.
They're only using part of the song that doesn't say all of those bad things, then it's okay. Well, the stanza, there is no good stanza in that song. It's all lustful. It's all
stanza.
Suggestive. It's all seductive. It's all perverse. And
seductive.
Perverse.
She must be taking lessons from Girl Defined, because Girl Defined's all about anti-seductive too.
Or 50 Cent. So seductive.
Do you see the problem that
no, I don't.
Got a school now
don't.
that's endorsing a song, and all these girls are doing this Twitter to this song, and they're gonna go to the internet to look up the rest of the song, and it's like, well, my teacher says this song's okay.
Ruby,
she's so uninformed.
We've narrowed down the song, okay, because she references that there was a Smith's commercial, which is a grocery store here in Utah, that had this song that played. And so we
saw it all year last year.
We did. And so we were able to narrow down the song very quickly. It's Low by Flo Rida, right?
Featuring T-Pain.
And so, and that's like a classic song. I mean, even from when I was in middle school. So this is
seriously, this is nothing new.
This is nothing new. So she's very, very concerned about the song choice. Very concerned.
Nowhere in here was the school or the teacher being protective of these children's innocence. No one was trying to look out for what was best for these kids. This teacher...
Ruby, please go and find the job description of any of these teachers in Utah County, because I'm sure it's pretty much the same no matter where you go to school. And explain to me where in their contract it says that they have to protect the children's innocence.
Hi, I'm a former teacher who taught in Utah for years. I went to school here in Utah, got my degree in special education, got my teaching license. I taught here at an elementary school, so I'm very familiar with all of this, and she's gonna shit on the teachers. And so if you get me really, like, if I get feeling some spicy today, that's why, because teachers deal with enough crap, and I know Ruby thinks that she's very unique for the things that she's going to do in this next video, but I guarantee you she's a dime a dozen. So
is being very selfish because she wants to be hip, up to date, cool, doing TikTok, entertaining the school.
Doing TikTok.
She wants to be liked by the teens.
A 15-year-old.
These are 12 and 13-year-old girls. She is taking from them. It's very selfish. And so I'm going to be going into the school. And I don't have an appointment. I just found out about this yesterday. So I'll sit in the office until I'm seen. So I went in.
And everybody clapped.
So she's documenting this whole experience, obviously, right? And I will bring up this point right off because you can see this right now. Ruby is all about privacy and protecting the children and protecting innocence and all of these things, but Ruby is the antithesis of protecting children, okay?
Or privacy, for that matter.
Or privacy. Like, she includes her house in videos constantly. You would be able to, like... People on the internet are gross and weird, okay? There are some real weirdos out there. It would not be hard to identify where these two live and for some creep ass to do something weird. Like, she's so afraid of people that are, you know, whoever she thinks is grooming people. Like, the actual people that she should be afraid of that actually do harm to children, she's like, here's where my daughter goes to school. Here's our house. Have you seen our car? It says 8 passengers on the van, so you can follow us wherever we go. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense to me. So essentially, the rest of this video is her complaining because she goes into the school, she meets with the vice principal, and the vice principal is trying to understand what she's saying and is like taking notes and is like, thanks for bringing this to me, blah, blah, blah. I'll follow up with you. eventually he doesn't follow up. She talks about him in this video like he's an idiot. She's like, do you want to take down my phone number? And I'm like, Ruby, they have your phone number
has
on
that
file.
Shit, you dummy.
So she was very upset by how he handled things, and she did not feel heard or validated. And let me tell you, as a teacher, as a special ed teacher, I work with principals. I worked with my principals more closely than any other teacher in the building. So I spent a ton of time with principals and a ton of time with irate parents just like this. And they're a dime a dozen, and everybody is tired. The teachers are tired. It's May. Ruby is pulling this shit in May, where teachers
we're talking May 2022, after the last 2 years have just been an absolute shit show.
Yes.
And everybody has been shitting on teachers constantly for basically ever since like summer of 2020.
Yes. Principals nor teachers get paid enough for this shit, and they deal with this stuff all the time. And so I don't blame this vice principal for being like, yes, that's okay, great, awesome, I'll follow up. And so that's essentially what happens. He doesn't follow up. She calls the school and schedules a meeting with the principal, okay? And so obviously you already know she's going to document this trip to the principal's office, okay? She's feeling very, very good about herself that she's going to go meet with this principal.
Yeah. I'd also like to make a note that she's kind of painting the area that she lives in to be like so odd and so like weird and like, oh, I feel like I'm standing out. And what Utah County didn't break under 90% white until 2010. And then from there, in 2020, the census results show 81% white in Utah County. And in 2014, religious affiliation is 88.1% Latter-day Saint Mormon. So
keep that nugget in your brain, because we're going to come back to that in a moment.
Yeah. All right, here's the next one.
I am so upset. I'm so angry. I could scream. So I went in and I had an appointment with the principal, and she had the assistant principal who never responded to me like he said he would. And then I guess there's two assistant principals, so there was three of us. She invited me in.
Let me just give you a perspective on a meeting like this. I have been in meetings with parents who have, legitimate concerns, and we address them and handle them appropriately, and we appreciate those parents. And there's parents who bring up insane things like this. And that's when we have a shit ton of people in the meeting, because we need 5 different witnesses to testify to what's happening here, because she's going to go up the chain if she doesn't get what she wants. So there's a reason that there's this many principal, like all the vice principals and a principal in this meeting, when this could have been held ideally just with the principal. There's a reason for that.
We sat down and she said, oh, my head, I'm probably shaking.
Well, also to that point, they probably, from what we've learned, they probably have had interactions with Ruby before.
Probably.
So they were like, already
okay,
set up for worst case scenario.
This video. Let's see if I can steady you.
Steady me,
She's
please.
so upset. She has to get the camera ready first.
There we go.
So she said, what can I help you with today? And I said, I have a concern about the TikTok dances. And she said in the fall semester and in the spring semester, we need to have a performance. A flash mob is a great way to get it in. It's efficient. The kids love it.
I'll have McKay throw up the standards for Utah. I can confirm this is a standard for I think they do it in high school as well, but junior high specifically, they have a performance standard. They have to perform something movement-wise. I'll have McKay
Really?
put it on the screen. And so this is actually a standard that they have to do something with. And so having the kids do something like exciting, like a flash mob and easy would be, like she said, a really easy way to address that standard. So that is factual.
They have fun with it.
Common Core,
and
suck my ass.
they are able to check off their performance for their grade. I said, my problem is the choice of songs. And she says, well, all the songs were approved by me. The teacher put together a list of songs and she gave them to me and I approved them. And I said, okay, so you approved this song that has all of these lyrics in it. And she says, well, we're not dancing to those lyrics. It's just a portion. And she says, I think it's really great because I actually really like it because Smiths used it in their commercial. It's part of pop culture. It's all over the place.
Which is hilarious. It is, but it's old. Like, this is an older song.
Yeah.
This isn't like Cardi B that came out like 6 months ago. Like, this is a song that's been around a while.
And I said, so your standard, what you allow in your school is pop culture? What the kids really like and what shows up in commercials, that's your standard? Yes, that's what if it's agreeable to the public at large, then it's okay in the school.
I mean,
I don't believe she actually said that. I
mean,
really
the
don't.
FCC is pretty, you know.
I
highly doubt.
I do not think she said that because I think this fits Ruby's narrative really well to be like, oh, well, she said that she governs the school by the public standards and what's on the radio because that's really convenient for this narrative. I don't ever see myself as a professional in a school saying something like that, so that just sounds way too convenient for me.
Yeah.
And I said, that's really disappointing. That is so disappointing because I would hope that the principal where my kids go to school, that the standard would be truth, that the standard would be principles, that the standard would be morality. And she says, well, what's moral for you isn't going to be moral for other parents. You know,
case
Facts.
and point right there. Done.
Shut it down. That's all we needed to know.
That's
Thank you.
it.
Goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Principal is 100% on. Like, and she'll go on to talk about this more in the video, but that's exactly what it is. Like, you can't please every parent. And so doing something like this to me seems relatively normal and appropriate. And if it were me, instead of throwing a temper tantrum like you're going to see happen, she can just not have her daughter participate. I see that all the time when I was in school with parents who didn't like sex ed or didn't like a certain thing, and they were like, well, my kid's not going to participate. And they're not going to stop.
Not sex ed, maturation. There's a huge difference.
So it's not going to take it away from all the parents who were okay with it, because as we go further and further into this video, Ruby thinks the world revolves around her and her religious beliefs. End of story.
You're complaining about this song, but I've got 30 other parents that just think it's wonderful. And I said, it's what's moral according to God. I said, I think if you put those lyrics out and told each parent what that song is, I think 100% of parents would agree that that's immoral. And she goes, well, yes, I agree. It's immoral too. But
She did not
she's
say,
also Mormon.
I do not believe this for 1 second. She did not say it's immoral. We're not, as teaching professionals in education, it's not our job to discern what's moral or immoral in this sort of sense. Like, we're not diving into religious beliefs or principles or truth because we avoid that shit. We don't touch that stuff because this is what happens. We have 15,000 different people with 15,000 different opinions, and nobody's going to be on the same page. Period.
Only using this section. I said, do you hear the compartmentalizing? Do you hear that you're taking this immoral song
big words.
And you're saying, but I'm going to take this section? And I said, even the section that's there is still seductive and lustful. I said, a 12-year-old, 13-year-old may not realize it, but you and I as women know that that's seductive. And I'm looking at the assistant principal, who's a man, and he's just got his head down like this. And I'm like, you know what? I can see you're not open to hearing my feedback. And she says,
I can see that you're not taking me, you're not changing things based on me and my truth and my principles. So, and like, they're not going to agree with everything that you say, like, period.
Yeah, no.
And you're going to think it's the end of the world because they're not going to, you know, burn down the TikTok, as she likes to call it.
The TikTok.
The TikTok, and never speak of it ever again and never do anything that's immoral, because it's not going to stop here with Ruby. This is only the beginning. This is one thing that she's caught wind of that she doesn't agree with. I guarantee you there's 100 other things going on in this school that she's not even aware of that doesn't align with her truth.
Yeah.
So,
but my child is involved in this, so this is going to be the hill that I'm going to die on.
exactly.
You know, if Julie wants to get out of the class, I'm totally fine making adjustments, whatever would make
Perfect
Julie feel
solution.
comfortable. I'm open to doing.
This I do love because, well, this is not Ruby talking. This is the principal. If the child wants to get out of the class, not if you want your kid to get out of the class, because people, I mean, this is still giving the very minimal amount of autonomy to kids that they have left, which is
Because
respectable.
Connections is all about choice.
Yes.
Choices. You have your choices. You have your free agency.
Choices to make the right decision only.
Right. That's it. And so I do appreciate this because this isn't a second grader.
Yeah.
This child is in middle school. I don't know if it's 7th or 8th, but they're in middle school. So this has got to be so embarrassing for her. Like, if my mom went on a tangent like this, my mom would be this person.
Like par for the course.
And I would be mortified.
For this family. So.
I will, if she doesn't want to participate, that's fine. And I said, you're missing the whole point of why I'm here. I am not here for anyone's comfort, including my daughter's. I'm not here to make her comfortable. Of course she can move classes, not because you said so, but because I said
Because I said so.
Because I said so. We know you're not here to make your daughter comfortable, Ruby, because you took fucking Christmas away from one of them.
And didn't
please,
give lunch
sit
to
down.
one of them that forgot their lunch.
It could be the same kid.
This is demonstrating to me control. Like, she's offering a solution of she doesn't have to participate in the class. And she's like, well, yeah, she doesn't have to participate in the class, but I'm going to be the one that says that, not you. Like, total control.
so. I'm the parent.
I'm the parent.
I am here to invite you to see
Her mannerisms
you,
are
the
just like my
principal,
mom.
who are supposed to be bringing morality and supposed to be a standard, who have these precious children. You are not protecting them. You are not protecting them. You are introducing them to the world. And you're saying it's okay. You're saying that you support this. I didn't.
I
Stop.
can't.
Stop.
You are introducing them to immorality. Here's the thing with this whole situation, and here's where the Mormonism comes in on this. One of the famous quotes that I heard all the time, and this is kind of where the tattling at BYU Idaho and probably by BYU also would come from, is Joseph Smith, and I'm paraphrasing, maybe I'll throw it up on the screen. If I'm right, then awesome. If not, but he said, teach them correct principles and they'll govern themselves. And it's just so ironic because it is never followed in any capacity, where people only will hold each other accountable. So teach them correct principles and they will govern themselves. Well, Ruby, are you not teaching correct principles where your daughter can hear a song that says what you would consider to be immoral things and then choose as per her own free will and volition? Because, I mean, she's old enough to understand. She's old enough to be accountable for her sins. She's old enough to understand the principles. Don't you think that she would be able to choose to not listen or choose to compartmentalize, another word that you like to use, and not be affected by the lyrics? So,
Or just choose not to participate until our mom chooses not participating.
Seriously.
It's not your job to be the morality police.
Maybe that's what she wants to do, and now you, rather than
deciding
letting
for
her
her.
govern herself, are deciding for her. So, isn't that interesting?
I was very strong and sober, but now I am crying. And I said, in the end, you're not going to answer to those 30 parents who think this is a good idea. And you're not going to answer to me who is telling you this is wrong. I said, you will answer for what you brought into this school and exposed these children to.
Who are they going to answer to?
Yeah, I will, and I'm fine with it. I am 100% fine with what I've chosen. I'm like, that's sick. I said, that's sick.
That's sick.
Ruby, that's sick. Me, that's sick.
The enunciation gives me Alexis with
sick.
First episode of Schitt's Creek. Help him with the doors. Like, it's very much oh God, I'm watching this, and the first thing that comes to my brain when she commenced the whole crying experience is it must be exhausting to be this way. It must be absolutely exhausting to exist like this and feel like the absolute weight of the world's morality is on your tiny shoulders, and you are going to answer to this being for not intervening in this way. Like,
you, the principal of this school, are going to answer to God for allowing immorality to be, like, that is the most unhinged thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's unhinged.
And I looked over at the assistant principal, who's a man, and he's got his head down like this. He won't make eye contact with me. And I look at the woman. She couldn't have been more than 25 years old. She was just young girl. This young adult. And her face was just full of pain. I felt like she heard what I was saying, but she wasn't in a position to. I don't think she'd ever seen anyone hold her principal accountable. I don't know if anyone's ever gone in.
Come on, Ruby. Seriously.
You think you are so original. You're so unique, but you're not.
That's what I'm saying. She thinks that she is like queen bee for going in and sticking up for these kids. And I'm like, you know what? Parents like you, God, the moment you walked out of that conference room, we just looked at each other like, what the is going on here? And then we all went home at the end of the day and didn't give a shit. So this whole thing that you think you're so important by doing this, like, this is just exhausting. And it's her small little world view. Like, this, there's such more significant issues going on in the world right now, and Ruby is losing her shit over a whoever knows how long year old song that was in a f***ing grocery store commercial. Like, get it together.
Seriously. This gives, for so long I got so many views on the internet, and now I don't get nearly as much. Now I want to be on the news vibes.
Yeah. Well, and
call him up. Call up Fox 13. Call up Gephardt. Get him down here. But nobody wants to hear it because it's literally over a song.
And she's still seeking for validation. Like, she wants that validation from those two other principals. And it's like, if you were really, like, 1,000,000% behind this information, you wouldn't be, like, begging the other principals to say something, because you stand firm in your truth and you don't care that the other principals aren't speaking up. Like, pick one. Pick a side.
And held that principal accountable. She is evil. For her to have a parent come straight at her and tell her how evil this is. And she said, you could go in and of course not today. And she's talking with a smile on her face like this. Like, you could go in and listen to the class. Of course not today. Today wouldn't work.
Yeah, because they have to have permission to do that. And you'd probably bring in a fucking camera, so they're not going to let you do that anyway.
They're probably not really wanting you to go in and violate everybody's privacy in one fell swoop.
But you could come in. We could set it up for next week or after spring break. Why don't we do that? Would you like that? And I said,
Ruby, the reason that she's talking to you like this is because she's going to have to do that, or she's going to slap you right across the face. Like, it's either that or you're going to get your shit hit. Like, I'm sorry. It's the only way that you can maintain, like, yes, we're so grateful for your feedback. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to us.
I would just love to have such a privileged worldview that evil is your child hearing Low by Flo Rida featuring T-Pain. Because, wow.
Oh
the density. Just, okay.
I said, if I went into that classroom, I'd probably be fine with everything I see. The problem is you are not reading between the lines. Those girls are going home and they're looking up the rest of the lyrics to these songs. You're hooking them in.
Why do you think they give a shit? You're putting too much stock in kids giving a shit.
She's also assuming that they already don't know
Seriously.
the lyrics to the songs. Hello?
Ruby, I would like to see your daily playlist on Spotify or whatever streaming service you use. And if it's not only Mormon Tabernacle Choir or whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days, I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it. Then I think we really need to have a serious conversation. How about that?
They're dancing to the song. They've got it in their head and they want to know the rest of it and they're looking it up. You're okay with them looking up the rest of the lyrics to this song? It's explicit. It's disgusting. You're okay with that. And I said, you're okay with these girls going home and the parents who aren't numb like you are, the parents who are awake, who aren't vying for popularity points with their kids.
I'm sorry, what are you doing? These are the terms that are concerning. Awake, that's a red flag. That's like some Scientology shit and some other culty shit. Because everybody else isn't awake.
I'm not going to get political, but there's a lot of iffy movements that use that kind of terminology.
That's a red flag.
Red flag.
They're telling their kids, this is a nasty platform. And she goes, oh, I know, I agree. I don't like any social media. And I'm like, then why do you have it? Why not cut it out?
Why do you have it? Why do you need to put your kids on YouTube?
Because you're all about everybody having their choice, but she's not going to take her choice of not liking social media and push it onto everybody else because she gets it. You entirely miss the point. Entirely. You believe that your beliefs are forcefully applied to everybody, and that's the only way that truth can exist. Make it make sense. Put your two little brain cells that you have together, rub them together really hard, and see if we can get some thoughts going on this.
Seriously. Well, and here's our little Mormon minute for this little bit is the Mormons believe that they have the absolute and only full truth about everything. It's all encompassing. Anybody who has any conflicting ideas or values or anything like that is a Gentile, an apostate, whatever you want to believe. So morally and every other aspect of Ruby's thought process and her values, they are the correct. They're the standard that everyone else should be held to.
Yep.
So
you can. And she's like, well, everything has got nasty. And I said, that's not true.
It is true.
There is so much.
If you look for nasty, you'll find what you're looking for wherever you want to look for it.
Yep.
End of story.
And
End of story.
It's not even relegated to this decade, this century, last century. Literally in all of humanity, there's been
it's the same problem,
nastiness,
just different ways. Like and plus anything is a problem to Ruby. Like, damn, the Bible is probably bad to Ruby because it has swear words in it. Like, Jesus.
Ass, hell, and damn.
Jesus.
Good in dance. There is so much good in music. You don't have to stoop to this pop culture level to entertain your children. You're not interested in teaching them. You're interested in entertaining them.
Stupid
requirement.
Check in a box.
Anyway,
Chill.
I said, you're not seeing that these parents, the ones who are awake, who are telling their kids, you've got to stay away from these platforms, that you've given them ammo to say, well, my principal thinks it's great. I'm
sorry, but I don't think the principal governs what happens inside your home.
Yeah, maybe.
Is she at your dinner table? Does she tell your kids what and what not to do? Because I'm pretty sure you're the one in charge. So if you're really confident...
You already told her you are the parent.
Right.
So
why are you so concerned about the principal? Why?
Dance teacher thinks it's wonderful. You're superseding your authority to bring this in and to endorse this. And how compartmentalized are you? You're rationalizing. You yourself say you don't like TikTok, and yet you think it's wonderful to teach these kids. You personally know it's immoral, but it's okay for 12-year-old girls. This is disgusting. It's inexcusable. I stood up and I said, I can see we're going in circles. I can see that you're not open to hearing me.
Because you're not doing what I want.
Oh my God.
You're not doing exactly what I say.
I am not willing to compromise, and we're not going anywhere because you're not compromising either.
I am the superior being.
I can see that you don't care.
No, definitely not.
And I can see that if I'm going to raise my children with people looking out for them, I will have to do it myself.
Then fucking homeschool them,
Then
Ruby.
do it.
End of story. This whole song and dance is so fucking pointless. Your kids asked to be put in public schools. You put them there. Now, if this is a big problem for you, homeschool them again.
Do it.
Instead of making this whole fiasco a problem, because that's all this is. This is for views. This is for clicks. This is to bring attention to the dumb fucking group cult that she's in. That's all this is. Because this is a problem that's very easily solved. Her daughter doesn't participate in the dance. She expresses concern to the other parents. Other parents may not agree either, may pull their kids. End of story. Or you're so concerned about the immoral, evil principle that you take your kids and homeschool them. Instead of throwing an absolute temper tantrum on the internet.
Yeah. Can't homeschool them? Have some conversations with your children. If you think that your moral code is not being met, then you need to be the one who is talking to your children about that.
I cannot count on their teachers. I cannot count on their principal.
It's not their job.
It's not their job.
To look out for my kids. Oh, this is so upsetting. I suspected that I would be minimized, but I had no idea how aggressive and mean.
She's so aggressive, but she's talking with a smile on her face the whole time.
I know, right?
Which is it, Ruby? Which is it?
And evil. And you guys, I don't live in like a real crazy city. I live in like a quaint conservative little city
Come again?
It's a college town.
where people think they're safe.
Oh my God.
So the only people that are safe are people in conservative cities. Kids are only safe in
Yes.
conservative cities. Didn't you know?
Yes, it's true.
Is that like a microaggression? It's kind of feeling like
That's what it's giving to me,
it's
honestly.
giving like low-key racist energy.
Yeah. Only conservative cities where 81% people are white.
You know,
And 88% of them
are
Mormon.
Mormon. And if that's concerning to you, good God, Ruby, don't move anywhere else. Don't even move up
You
north.
would not.
Jesus.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to give you this update, and I'm telling you, if you're not watching out for for your kids, and if your kids are not talking to you, you're missing so much. You're missing it. And in the end, each of us will account to God for how we protected kids. Big
How did you
companies
protect
who
your
say
kids,
they
Ruby?
love kids are not.
This is what gets me right here. Is she said big companies aren't protecting our
looking out
kids.
for kids. Principals who say they're looking.
You mean the same big companies that sponsor your Instagram content, that used to sponsor your 8 Passengers content, now suddenly, they're looking out for
Suddenly.
kids anymore? Interesting. Mighty convenient.
Here's the thing, Ruby. They never were. They
Why-
don't care. It's profits. That's all they care
I
about.
don't know why she was ever under the assumption that they did.
I have no idea. This is what gets me about a lot of people. They're like, oh my God, Disney is woke and they're doing all this. They're not doing it because it's something that they support. If they support it, that's an ulterior motive. It's profits. That's how they maintain what they don't do it for anybody other than the money that they're raking in.
No.
So
what do we say all the time?
Stop disillusioning yourself.
There is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Seriously.
I don't know why she ever thought these companies cared about kids to begin with. Like, who?
Not even baby companies give a shit about kids. No. Like, they are literally putting metal in the foods that infants are eating, and they're like, well, it's like, you know, what it is. Okay.
Truly, I mean, this, I guess, just further points to the fact that she is not living in reality. Which is so ironic, because the whole group, like, the whole connections thing is all about checking out of reality and doing all these things. And I'm like, you guys think you're in reality? I think you're on another f***ing planet. Seriously? Like, we're in a different dimension when I sit here and watch Ruby. Like, I can't possibly think that this is real life. This woman is not acting.
Looking out for your kids. They're not looking out for your kids. Everyone is just concerned about popularity. They're more concerned about engaging children and catching their attention. They're interested in money. True. They're interested in contracts.
That's what they do.
That's how it always was.
It breaks my heart.
Like, if you're just now realizing this, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this has been the way it's always been with social media from the get-go. Like, hello? Like, terrible people have been targeting children since the beginning of time. Like, that is just the way that it works. Yeah. There will always be bad people, and that's the end of the story. Now, are there more mainstream ways to get to kids? Yeah, social media is a big part of that, but it's not like this whole new thing where every single kid on every social media is being corrupted and groomed by, they just say they're being groomed by, you know, they're grooming them. Who's they,
How?
Ruby? Who's they?
Breaks my heart. And then you get a mom who is awake, who's looking, and you put her in a room full of administration who, they're all numb, and you're the one awake. And
numb and awake. Not liking that.
I don't like that.
You're the one who's animated. You're the one who's talking. You're the one who's getting big.
You're the one with the problem, so...
Weren't you just saying that the principal was so animated when she was talking to you with a smile on her face? Like, what?
So you, as the mom, start to think maybe you're crazy.
Oh.
And I know better. I know better now. I know I'm not crazy. And that's why I'm sharing this. Because if you as the parent go in and start standing up for what's being taught in your kids' schools... If you're not solid and if you don't have a support system, you're gonna be framed to look like you're crazy and over.
If you're not in a cult and have other people, like, I guarantee you, she got out of this.
Find an echo chamber in
yes,
order.
Yes, I guarantee you, she got out of this meeting and called Jody or their stupid little support group on the way out. If you are always surrounding yourself with those people, then yeah, you are going to feel like the crazy ones because you're the little weird culty group over here and everybody else are the crazy people, right? It's just you and your handful of connections people that got it right out of all the millions of people on the earth, billions of people on the earth.
Interesting.
And she's her little group is the one that has it all together. Didn't you know that?
They're the only ones.
They're the only ones.
There's only like a couple hundred of them, you know.
Okay, cool.
Sharing. Just be ready for that.
I'm ready.
And the truth is, everyone has their own agendas now, and kids are not in that agenda.
Oh my God.
You have your own agenda.
I hope that this community grows and that we will truly, truly love God and truly love morals and truly watch out for our children.
Good God.
It was the longest 12 minutes of my life.
It's probably because we were pausing all the time.
We do. People bitch about us pausing
Sorry
all the time.
that.
If you're new here, that's just the name of the game here. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
It's better than talking over the video.
It is.
So
there is a third video in this series, and it is not as fun as the first two. I will give you a brief summary of the third video. Essentially, she was not satisfied with the response from the principal, so she moved up the food chain and went to a district administrator somewhere, who knows. It was probably a lower level district person that was being punished. And so this was their punishment for the day that they had to deal with Ruby. And so
schooling politics, man.
So it was It sounded like to me like she was saying he was an older gentleman and he did not know what TikTok was. And so she was absolutely fucking thrilled by this information. She was absolutely thrilled. And so Kevin took it upon himself to share what happens on TikTok. So let's just share what he said.
And I said the bulk of this class, the bulk of the meat and potatoes of the content of what is being used to teach the kids is TikTok. And he's like, okay, so tell me what TikTok is. I'm not really familiar with it. I'm like, oh. So Kevin's like, did you ever have any problems with people vandalizing the schools in the name of a challenge? And he's like, oh yeah, we had lots of damage done, lots of money down the drain because of that. And Kevin's like, that was from TikTok. And he's like, oh, it was?
Or the let's bring your gun to school and shoot your classmates challenge. Remember that?
Okay, first off, the Devious Licks thing actually started on Facebook. So, nice try on that one.
Okay.
Uninformed. Literally this week we were listening to NPR and there was someone who learned us on that one. So maybe you guys need to listen a little more NPR and a little less
Fox News.
Yeah. But what the fuck was that?
Like, okay.
I am like chronically on TikTok and yeah, I could tell you that's not a thing.
Here's my thing as a teacher. Prior to TikTok, kids have always been doing stupid shit. Kids have always vandalized things. Kids have always done drugs. Kids have always smoked cigarettes. Kids have always had sex. Like, these are, like, I would call these truths because this is what's been happening for centuries. This is just the way it's always been. The only thing that's changed is social media. Like, so yeah, you're seeing kids across the country doing this stupid shit, but guess what? It's happening in your school too, and it's already been there.
Yeah. Columbine happened in 97.
TikTok wasn't around then, so explain that.
Hardly even the internet was. Nobody had the internet at that time. So what happened there, or anything from that?
And this brings up a great point. So if you're so concerned about kids bringing guns to school, what are we doing about that?
Yeah.
Oh, but wait.
I don't think taking TikTok down is going to change that.
Don't take my freedoms.
Don't take my freedoms.
God damn it.
Yeah. Maybe we need to have a conversation about responsible gun ownership.
You know,
things of that nature, but no, we're gonna hyperfixate
on TikTok. I swear to God, this is just what in the past have Christians and things fixated on? Was there something like this previously? Like, drop it in the comments if there's something like that you feel like the religious right has fixated on as being like evil, because TikTok obviously comes to mind now.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think of what other things there have been.
Religious and right and TikTok. There's the whole like banning TikTok.
Yeah.
With the previous president and everything like that for other reasons. But
it's just like there's this immense and I mean, it's not even like social media anymore. Like, even the evangelical people that I see on, Instagram and things are like in an absolute panic over TikTok. And so something about TikTok has these people by the balls.
Seriously.
Man. He's like, oh yeah, that one caused us a lot of problems. That was TikTok too.
So can you see the inconsistency of the school fighting against these TikTok challenges, but then bringing TikTok as the main source of training in the class?
What the fuck even? What?
I'm so tired.
Where did this come from?
This is so exhausting to me.
What is the concern now? Because it's shifted from my daughter has been doing a TikTok dance as a flash mob thing to now apparently all of the curriculum for the class comes from TikTok.
Inaccurate. Absolute bullshit. She's generalizing one experience at her school to what's happening across the district. Bullshit. 100% bullshit.
Or one assignment and then extrapolating it to an entire school year's worth of curriculum.
And if we actually break down what she's talking about the music and the dance. So the dance itself, which I watched and is harmless, derived potentially from TikTok. It was created by a TikTok creator who, came up with the choreography. So we separate those things from TikTok and suddenly they're okay? Like, yet the focus is on TikTok. Like, okay, lose your mind over the lyrics or lose your mind over the seductive dancing. But why are we focusing on TikTok? Because independent of TikTok, those two things still exist. But TikTok's the problem.
I don't know.
I am just bewildered.
I don't know about this one.
I am absolutely bewildered. The majority of this third video is them just going on and on about how school district policy does not align with God's policy, and TikTok is of the devil and is ruining America, and yada, yada, yada. So she felt like she was heard in this video because this old guy didn't know what TikTok was and probably just sat there and listened to whatever the fuck she said, because that's just easier than arguing with her. And then she's like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel better about it. And I'm like, nothing's going to happen because no one cares. But
I'm glad you feel better about it, Ruby.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you created this giant fiasco for everybody to watch and to draw views to your stupid Instagram group.
I'm sorry you didn't make it on the news. I know that was probably one of the biggest allures for making these videos, but, you know.
I'm sorry for your child.
It is.
My mom did shit in this caliber of things, and it was embarrassing for me as a student, like among my peers and things. So I feel for their child if they're not really having what Ruby's throwing down at this point. And if she doesn't decide to homeschool her kids, this has been a load of crap. Like, I'm sorry. This was all
Nothing's
for show.
Going to change because she felt heard.
Like, are you going to do this every time something happens at your school that you don't agree with? Are you going to be in that office every time?
She hasn't already been doing this.
I think if she was, she would have been broadcasting it on the page. Also, these videos are edited. There is at least one jump cut that I found in this third video.
Interesting.
So who knows what else was said? Maybe Jody was like, "That's too controversial," and edited it out. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Ruby edited it because
this isn't her personal social media that she's uploading on anymore.
That's true. That's true. So in summary, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. We have a lot
of reaction videos that end like that.
We do. I have wasted so much brain energy on this to just be a disappointing circular argument where Ruby just constantly needs to be validated about her cult group truth. So
yeah, fun times here on the channel. So I don't know how to wrap this one up in a nice little bow.
I feel like I'm just, like I'm giving out. Like I have no energy left to expend after this topic.
Stupid.
Ruby never fails to disappoint.
Ruby do. Thank you very much. And Professor
Poopy Pants.
Professor Poopy Pants. Professor Worldwide.
He does look like Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide.
He picks the best glasses for that, so.
Oh my God.
Is she gonna throw a fit over the fact that her husband looks like a guy who makes music similar? Seductive music. Ruby, get her on the phone. We need to. Does she know?
Does she know? Oh boy, what a garbage dumpster fire this turned out to.
If you have made it this far with us, thank you for sticking around. This was probably just really fun, and a lot of people might have gotten introduced to a reaction video from us in a rather jerky kind of manner.
We haven't done one of these in a while.
We haven't done these in a while. If you like this, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate it a lot, and our numbers are growing on the daily, so we love to hear that. We love all of our viewers, all of our listeners. Sometimes we do a little crappy job about describing things for the listeners. I'd like to apologize for that. I've also been really shit at making sure the audio gets uploaded at the right time. So sorry about that. If you would like to get access to exclusive cool content and maybe a watch party that's going to be happening at the end of the month, next month, join our Patreon. It is awesome. There are a couple different tiers and a lot of awesome benefits. And you can get your name scrolling up the screen at the very end of each video to thank you and all of our patrons who are freaking amazing. So
you make this content possible. We don't have childcare, and we are both insanely busy, and I am in grad school, and we drown quite frequently. So any and all support from you is greatly appreciated.
If you'd like some other ways that you can support other than just listening to and commenting and liking and stuff like that, you can find our merch on our Etsy store, Happy Brain Collective. If you have had your order delayed recently, I'm sorry. We ran out of materials. So if you'd like any of those cool designs that you see on our Etsy store on a t-shirt, you can visit our Teespring We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, things of that nature. We also have a Discord for the coolest people of all time. Our Discord community is really awesome. We're there all the time if you'd like to get in contact with us. You can also follow along in our daily lives on Instagram and some bonus content on TikTok. So thank you to all of you for sticking around with us. We love you. You're awesome. And we will see you next time.